Hello, folks. Whoa, that was quick. Good on you for showing up. Luna, Viola. Man, those are such pretty names. I really like names. That is really cool. Let me just do my usual warning and then I'll get. Oh, I'm lagging a bit. Why? Hold on. Uh, yeah, that's a bit of delay. I'm literally right across from the Wi-Fi, so I don't know what's going. Can you still hear me okay? Let me just do the usual warning for the sensitive folks, and then we'll get started. Oh, good. Glad you could hear. Hello, Caitlin. Glad you could make it. Just finishing up my warning because you guys showed up a bit more quickly than I anticipated. I should just copy and paste this warning and put it on one of the documents on my desktop so that I don't have to keep typing this out every time. So I shall do that right now. I will put it in one of my documents, and then that'll speed things along for the next several. Oh, yo, it's Cat. You're pretty early. Did you have a day off or something? All right, here we go. Here's my document. Just gonna copy and paste that. There we go. Okay, we're good. We're totally good. I am ready to devote my full attention to you guys. And Yubi, my gosh, I've only been live for 2 minutes, and you guys are already all here. Congratulations. Yeah, the newest Pokemon game is definitely not looking too good, Yubi. The week off, that's great. After this stream, Cat, you and I should talk about a time when maybe if you wanted to do another video chat, because I actually do have the next 2 days on to work. So I have Thanksgiving off. Not sure if I'm going to be able to have that day to talk, but yeah, we'll have to discuss something because I remember putting that on my calendar. Vacation break. Well, that's good. That's good. To answer your question, Yubi, I am doing really, really great. A little bit tired because I went to my godson's baptism this past Sunday, and that felt like such a long weekend because I was spending the night at my best friend's house, and then we went over to the baptism, and we just have been spending so much time together that we hardly even talked in the car. What's up, Orville? What's up has been a lot of Persona 5 Royal, almost too much. I also just did another video on Isabel's channel, and my godson just got baptized. So, yay for another child of God having original sin wiped out. So, what about you all? You all are asking me how I'm doing. What's been going on in your worlds? You've been playing any cool games? What are your thoughts on the booster course pack announcement for Mario Kart, assuming that you follow that? Hey, Louie, glad you could make it. We were just talking about how I went to my godson's baptism on Sunday. We're about to talk about the booster course pack, assuming that you all like that. If not, we can skip that topic. And that Persona 5 has taken up so many hours of my life. So many hours, it's ridiculous. Like, I've played long RPGs, but Persona 5 seems to make it feel longer than other RPGs that I've played. I think it's because there's so much padding. There's a lot of moments where you're kind of just fooling around and trying to pass the time to upgrade your skills. Not saying it's a bad game, it's just definitely the kind of game for people that need a time investment. Yes, they did. I am very glad that they brought back Rainbow Road, and I don't know if this was intentional, but it looked like the road that they were driving on, it kinda reminded me of the road that Sonic was running along in Sonic Colors in I forgot the name of the zone, but it was like that world that was in outer space. They're bringing back, the version of Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7. I actually have the full track list. I believe I have it memorized. So they have Rainbow Road and Rock Mountain from Mario Kart 7, Boo Lake from Mario Kart Super Circuit, Merry Mountain, by Berlin Byways, and I forgot what the London one was called from Mario Kart Tour, Maple Treeway, yep, Maple Treeway from Mario Kart Wii, and Peach Gardens from Mario Kart DS. I gotta say, I have quite a lot of, excuse me for a moment, 'cause I'm gonna plug in my computer to make sure there are no errors while we're streaming. Oh, silly me. I've got 55% remaining. What am I talking about? Okay, never mind. We can keep doing that. I also really like how for Boo Lake, they actually have an underwater section. Lately, the Mario Kart 8 DLC has been. Yeah, Mario Kart 7 was the one on the 3DS. Mario Kart Wii, do I really have to say what system that was for? So the Mario Kart games that have come out, there's Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo, Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advance, Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube, Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Kart Live, Mario Kart Tour, and the three Mario Kart GP games for the arcades. So there have been 14 Mario games so far, or Mario Kart games. You only played the one on the Wii. Did you ever have the steering wheel for it, Kat? Because I remember those things were so cool. And then I discovered that you could use a GameCube controller, and then I said, well, screw this. I'm going to play with a traditional controller that works way better than it ever did in Mario Kart Double Dash. Because I was quite in the minority back when Double Dash first came out. I was one of the people that said, "Man, this stinks." But everyone else was like, "This is the greatest Mario Kart game ever, and you're just being nostalgia biased." And I think maybe if I replayed it nowadays, I'd like it a bit more, but I just didn't like how it was a bit too different from Mario Kart 64. Then again, I've also played Mario Kart 64 recently, and that game hasn't aged very well. Every CC in Mario Kart Wii. Good for you, Louie. I've actually beaten every current cup in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on 200cc. Or not just 200cc. I got 3 stars on golden on 200cc, and I'm eventually gonna do it on the Wii U version as well. Hello, Peggle, glad you could make it. We had literally just started talking about Mario Kart, and I was edumacating Kat on how many Mario Kart games there were. Because 'cause you've never seen me wear a red shirt? Well, not only is this a red shirt, but this is actually the t-shirt that we designed for my second mission trip. My brother was the primary designer. The theme of the mission trip was Soul Live Uncovered. And so they thought, well, if you're going to uncover something, it seems kind of like a treasure map. Now, on the back, it has the names of everyone that went on the mission trip. So I'll let you guys use your imagination. You've never seen me wear anything other than blue? Well, dang. I didn't know my wardrobe was that limited. Oh, that's funny. Peggle, would you like to tell everyone else what you told me in the Discord about your thoughts on the Booster Course Pack announcement? I gotta say, that was a really neat surprise hearing Nintendo announce that. Luna, you sound like you don't know what we're talking about. Have you not played Mario Kart? Good one, Louie. That's great. Oh, that's cool, Kat. I'm glad. Well, I don't know how to feel because again, I used to love Mario Kart 64, but now when I go back to play it, it is terrible. Like the controls are really awful. The course design feels really cramped. The music is all right. The graphics are not that great because the character models aren't even expressive when they were on the Super Nintendo. I don't know. It feels like it was a rushed game. Well, maybe it was just that Mario Kart 64 just wasn't well optimized. Maybe it wasn't that you were bad. It's just that that game wasn't good. DK Summit would be pretty fun. I do remember playing that in Mario Kart Wii. A heartbreaking weekend. What happened, Orville? Did Rumpelstiltskin come in and literally shatter your heart, or was it like heartbreaking in the more metaphorical sense? Oh, sounds good, Cat. Fill up that stomach and then be ready to entertain us once again. All right, so let's hear about. Oh gosh, my water is so far away today. Whoa, I almost spilled that. Mm, Power Rangers actor. I've never seen that, but that's unfortunate that people have to die eventually. Well, hey, at some point, all of us here are going to die too. So the real question is who's going to be the last one standing? Waluigi Stadium. Wasn't that the one that had like the piranha plants creeping out of the sides and then it had like the fireballs spinning around? Because I think that one was also in Mario Kart Wii. Dang, Mario Kart Wii had some good ones. He took his own life. Well, that really stinks. In the Catholic Church, suicide is really frowned upon. We don't automatically condemn people in the Catholic Church just because they commit suicide. It really depends on the person's mental state and the intent behind it. Well, that's what I meant. It was from the GameCube, but it was in Mario Kart Wii. Yeah, suicide is pretty selfish because you're not thinking about literally anyone else except for yourself. Because if you weren't being selfish, then you'd say, well, maybe my life is worth something to someone. And maybe I'm just perceiving things based on my own subjective emotions, which are just chemicals in the brain that make me think a certain thing that may not necessarily 100% correlate to objective logical criteria. So that's why I think suicide is a bit stupid. Then again, I'm one to talk because they thought I was suicidal back in 2015. My memory's kind of hazy, so I don't know whether I actually was or not, but I know I did make a deal saying I would consider taking my life if the upcoming conference wasn't good, and thankfully that conference was very good, and it got me out of depression. So, yay for girls saying 4 words, and those 4 words just really added up to make me feel so much better. Oh, no worries, Luna. I'm totally better. I'm actually I've actually been depression free ever since March of 2016 and still going strong. Let's see. Some people. Well, that's what I said earlier, Caitlin, that the Catholic Church takes into account the person's state of mind. There are some people out there that have suicide for the wrong reasons, but then there are some people who are mentally ill and maybe they don't have full control over their actions. It's the people that are in full control of their actions that the Catholic Church is worried about. But then again, we also realize that only God can judge. And so, therefore, only He knows what's inside all of our minds, which also means that sometimes He even knows what we're thinking better than we know what we're thinking. So, whether or not anyone has actually been sent to hell because of suicide is not at this point currently known except through private revelation. And then that would just be sad if someone had a private revelation of hell and someone in hell said, hey, I chose to be here because I chose to take my own life. Like, man, that's depressing. Actually, if you guys have ever read Dante's Inferno, uh, they actually give descriptions of the punishments of each of the sinners in hell, and the punishment for the suicidal is actually far less depressing than anything else in the book. Basically, the suicidal are condemned to live the rest of their life as a tree, and from one of the tree branches is hanging the body that they gave up, and they're forced to just carry that empty shell of a body and watch it just dangle there for all of eternity because, hey, they didn't want their body, so why would they want it in the afterlife? Of course, it's questionable how much of Dante's Inferno is actually canonical. It's more so meant to be an allegory to get you thinking about how terrible sin is and how everything has karmic retribution. Yeah, I certainly hope so too. I honestly wish hell wasn't a real thing, but God also gave people free will, and some people just say, you know what? Uh, I don't want to be with God for all of eternity. So if you're not with God for all of eternity, where else are you supposed to go? So hell is that option for the people that reject God. Oh, no worries, Caitlin. I'm sure you had good reasons. I decided to take a little sip out of my water this time to make sure that I could try to preserve as much as possible so that maybe I can stream a little bit longer. So, the thing about hell is it's very hard to define because so much of the imagery used in the Bible is meant to be very symbolic. Like Jesus often brought up, I believe he called it, I'm losing, Gehenna. He called it Gehenna, which is a real valley in in the area where he lived when he was on earth. And obviously we know that hell isn't literally the Gehenna Valley, but it's like a very desolate place. And he's like, that's basically what hell's like, guys. So take it with a grain of salt. All we know is it's eternal separation from God. And the people in there chose to be in hell. They knew that what they were doing was evil and they did it anyway. It's not like you accidentally did something wrong and you'll be burning for all eternity. You have to mean it. Oh, Louis, that that is so ironic that you said that, Louis, because I personally think the Pokemon games are like a living hell for me. Like, I just don't really see too many redeeming qualities in the mainline games. Some of the spin-offs I really enjoy, but the mainline games, ugh, they feel like the absolute byproduct of corporate greed and trying to make a deadline. Um, that's a good question, Luna. Because the Bible does talk about the earth being destroyed, and more or less science has acknowledged that one day it'll be destroyed. But I personally think hell is a state of being more than it is a place. Good one, Caitlin. That actually would be kind of a hell for me. But I honestly think if I were like being honest with myself, I know that's redundant, but I'm trying to like really reinforce the point. If hypothetically my eternal destination is hell, I think knowing that my miscarried siblings were with God forever and being told you chose to not ever meet your siblings, how terrible could you be for all of eternity would be my punishment. You don't know what I'm saying? Okay, so state of being, again, this is really hard to explain because near death experiences are so hit or miss. But basically, you know how there's like when you're in a dream state, how you're not thinking clearly and everything's kind of fuzzy? Hell and heaven are kind of like that. There's theories that it might be just the earth, but perfected. And that's how the saints are able to view what we're doing. And that it might not necessarily be a place, because if it is, then surely astronauts would have discovered it by now. I'm sorry I can't give you a more concrete answer, but that's because there it's hard to give a concrete answer when no one really knows exactly what it's like. Even the people who were given near death experiences were often told you cannot see this yet, or they were brought back to life before they could finish their tour. Well, Luna, the good news is that heaven is a place for the sinners. Jesus often said, I came not to call the righteous, but the sinners. And we as Catholics believe that if a person dies but isn't like totally wicked, then they will have a purging moment where God basically scrubs away all the parts of you that are not so great so that you can be perfect and desiring nothing but goodness for the rest of your life. So think of it as taking a shower, really. Like you get clean and but instead of needing to take another shower afterwards, you're just perpetually in a state of cleanliness and you never have to get muddy or rainy or sweaty or having body hair ever again. So congratulations. I know what Peggle's heaven would be though. Peggle's heaven would be where she will be in a reality where virtue's last reward doesn't exist and only the story will exist and all the puzzles she can just hit the skip button for. Well, Peggle, we all know you're putting it off, so maybe it's because you know that that's maybe it's because you know that that's what's coming up. Well, actually, Luna, you're not too far off. Catholics believe that, and Christians too, we're not too different in our beliefs about heaven. Both Catholics and Christians acknowledge that heaven is a place where the righteous stay up there for all of eternity, and that there's nothing but love in heaven. So there you go. You got countless people that are going to be there and support you for all of eternity. Man, all this talk about heaven makes me kind of hope that if I don't end up hitting the grave anytime soon, that however many years of life I have left can be like really used to their full potential. Because I recently heard, I think it was Sploon Ghost said that a good idea of living is we should live for the people that need us to be alive in their lives. So if there are people out there who would be devastated if I dropped dead, it wouldn't be a good idea to like try to die when they might be like, "No, Paul, we don't want you to die." Well, I'll try not to die anytime soon, Luna. I think I should be good because I have been told by my doctors and by some health professionals that I'm pretty on the healthy side for my age and that even though I'm underweight, I'm not like dangerously underweight, so that's good. I think uh I think if I were to die anytime soon, it would probably be because of something unforeseen that would like come suddenly. But I don't think anything like that's going to happen. So she should be fine. I know how that feels, Luna. Pretty sure all of us in this chat do. Oh, the light just went out. That's weird. Oh, there it goes. That was weird. Yeah, I had one girl that I was friends with. She unfriended me 4 separate times before she finally blocked me, and we haven't spoken in I think about 10 years, give or take. I've also had people that told false information to my youth group leaders and made it so that I was kicked out of the youth group's camping trip. Actually, you're not too far off, Peggle. When I lived in my house before my old house, we actually had quite a few moments where the lights would randomly flicker shortly after my grandpa died, and then a few times on the anniversary of his death. Then there was another time where my brother had a candle, and the candle had like a glass container all around it, and there was like a shelf above it. And somehow the glass of the candle flew over the shelf and shattered on the floor while the candle itself was still intact. And to this day, they have no idea how that was possible. Because, like, surely the candle would have fallen over if the glass did, but it didn't. The candle was still just standing there, good as new. Yeah, the church has neither confirmed nor denied the existence of ghosts. So it's kind of on an individual basis. But I do know that there are plenty of stories of exorcisms and priests that have to go into houses and get rid of the spirits there. So it's possible that ghosts could just be either demons or people that are like dead but not in heaven yet, like sort of an in between earth and heaven type of state of being. Friendly ghosts? That's a good question. I would like it if there's friendly ghosts, but there's no way to prove that as of now. I swear I tried combing my hair before I did this, but that one strand of hair right here just keeps misbehaving itself for some reason. Oh, I've experienced the Holy Spirit as well many times on my mission trips. Peggle, if you ever want to hear a lot of my crazy spiritual experiences, look up Just Paulism. I think I also have a playlist on my YouTube channel and look up all of the my fill in the blank year mission trips. And I'll be able to tell you some amazing stories of how the Holy Spirit has really had a profound impact on my life. One of the times I even had a miraculous healing on my back and shoulders. Legit. Wait, you. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I think you're talking about being slain in the spirit, because that happens quite a lot. No, I do not have an Instagram, Luna. I don't think it's really possible to have an Instagram on a computer. I've heard that it's primarily designed for smartphone users. I do have Twitter, but I don't use it very much, so it's probably not worth it to follow me on it. Yes. Yes, Caitlin, I do believe that is actually something that the church has, again, neither confirmed nor denied. So at the moment, it's a possibility, but not a doctrinal possibility. I mean, personally, I think so, given what happened after my grandpa died. I think my grandpa might have been trying to tell us that he was like in need of prayers. Oh, wow. Yeah. I've had experiences like that as well. I had an experience like that when I went on a retreat in high school during Eucharistic adoration. It was scary, not gonna lie. Like seeing people faint and seeing some people just start laughing out of nowhere. It was definitely an experience. But I was told ahead of time going into the conference that this is perfectly normal and it's just a result of the Holy Spirit wanting to work in these people's lives. And a lot of times, as one who's also fainted when being prayed over, I can attest that it doesn't really hurt at all. It's actually an extremely peaceful sensation. Oh yeah, there's a lot of crying as well. Yep. Yep, that happens. But it's usually a good kind of crying. It's like either you're getting out something that you've been suppressing or it's like happy tears. It's really amazing. Like if you haven't gotten an opportunity to be around a group of people that pray over you, I highly suggest you find time to do it because those have been some of the greatest moments of my entire life. I don't think a heart attack is a Holy Spirit thing. I think that would be more of like a demonic thing. Cuz how do I word this? Usually for me, like from what I've heard and also from what I've experienced myself being prayed over in the spirit quite a few times, is that the main sensation you experience when you're in the presence of the Holy Spirit is immense peace and tranquility. Like, it's not just like, "Oh, I had a good nap," like that kinda thing. It's like you just feel like you're so calm and that nothing will hurt you in that moment and that you are completely protected. It's amazing. Utterly some of the best times I've ever had in my life. Even better than banjo and kazooie were in Smash, and that's saying something. Yes, you did tell me that story. That is amazing. I had a similar story on my most recent mission trip where a guy and a girl, I don't remember if they broke it or it was just severely damaged, but they both got leg problems on the same day. And after we prayed for them during Eucharistic adoration, they were both able to come back to the camp. The girl came back the day after, and the guy came back 2 days after. And we were told when they initially went to the hospital that they wouldn't be able to come back, but they did. And we believe that it was because one, the priest went to visit them and prayed over them at the hospital, and two, we were all praying for them during adoration. And so the priest seemed to think that it was like the combined efforts of our prayers and the real presence of Christ that did it. I'm sorry, Luna. I lost track of what you were saying. What did you mean by the first reason? Oh my gosh, Peggle, I have so many stories about my mission trips that I could probably make like a whole Paul's Gaming Tuck. It's not a bad idea. I might actually do that one of these days. The only time you should be afraid of priests is when they're doing an exorcism. Because otherwise, priests are meant to be healers and sacrificers. And honestly, I think they sacrifice way more than any of us do. It's not like they live lives of luxury. Most of them actually take vows of poverty and chastity and obedience, which means they're not allowed to get married or have sex. They're not allowed to be abundantly rich. Oh, that. Well, those are the exceptions to the rules, not the norm. From what I've heard, that actually accounts for only 1% of all of the priests in the Catholic Church. And not only that, but of all of the scandals in the Catholic Church, 99% of them were caused by married clergy, meaning the people that weren't the priests and were just average people that were already married and just couldn't get enough from their spouses. But again, this is such a small minority that you shouldn't base the entire population of priests over stories that are hyped up to be the norm when they're actually the exception. It's kind of like how people talk about the transgender movement, how they act like it's so prominent when actually they only account for about 1% of the population. It's just that most trans people are very, very, very vocal about it. And so that's why people that don't like the trans movement often say they're a vocal minority, meaning that they seem like there are more of them than there are because they're like, hey, I'm trans. Look at me. Look at all of us. We want everyone to know that we have gender dysphoria. And it's like, there's hardly actually any people in the world that experience that. So that's what happens when anyone is loud, or as my dad likes to say, the squeaky wheel gets the attention. Whereas, like with straight people, sure, there are people out there that'll clarify that they're straight if the subject comes up, but it's not like they have a movement to say, hey, we are straight. We identify with the gender we were born as, and we want to date the people of the opposite gender. Let us make that popular. You don't really see that much unless they're talking against the people on the other side of the spectrum. Hope that all made sense. But yeah, basically priests are in that same boat. Yeah, that is true. There is quite a lot of straight hate going around. I should trademark that. But then again, I also think Are you serious, Peggle? Are you legitimately serious? I mean, I have heard stories. I won't mention any names, but there's a girl that I know of who went to college, and because she was straight, people made fun of her and said, "Why do you say that you're a woman? Why do you say that you're not attracted to other women? Like, you must be some kind of freak." It Okay, I know it's not literally illegal to be straight, and they do represent 99% of the population, but there definitely feels like there's more of a stigma now that being straight is considered dirty because there are so many series of fiction that try very hard to have LGBT inclusion, but then they do stuff to make it so that straight people are disincluded. Like, for example, in Animal Crossing, it used to be that you could choose whether you wanted to be a boy or a girl. And then, depending on what you chose, would affect what clothing you wore. Now, I'm of the opinion that that went a little bit too far. Like, I know that not all girls like dresses, but yet you were forced to wear a dress if you were a girl. So, around the time of New Leaf, they decided that they would give more options that both genders could wear. But then came New Horizons, where I think it was both a blessing and a curse what they did. They got rid of the option to say your gender. Instead, they said choose your form. And then they gave you the option to wear whatever clothing and whatever hairstyle you wanted. But at the same time, the only way you could identify whether you were a boy or a girl, or I guess a man or a woman, but the age of the villager as a child, is if you had the very specific tag of birthday boy slash birthday girl. That's it. Not only that, but the game gave you the option to change your form at any time. And straight people are like, well, wait a minute. What if I want to be a girl? What if I want the world to know that I am a female from birth and I am attracted to guys? There's no way to do that anymore. In the old Animal Crossing games, yeah, but not in the new ones. And that's actually one of the lesser examples, but it does seem like most fiction is going in that direction where they want to be so inclusive that they're excluding 99% of the population to appeal to 1%. It is getting very, very sad. And when I was a kid, there was no such thing as transgenderism. Like, such a thing was not even heard of. Like, if you mention the word transgender, people would be like, what do you mean by that? Gay people existed, but they were a very vocal minority. And usually, if a person came out as gay, they would be considered creeps and they would be considered the clowns and like the people that should go in a circus. I don't agree with taking it that far. I think that is very hateful and that is legitimately homophobic. But the fact remains that in the past 7 or 8 years, it's definitely become much more of a widespread topic. And I don't think these people should be ignored, but I do think that if you're going to try to be more inclusive, then you should be inclusive to all types of people as opposed to only the theys and the thems of the world. Well, I'm not too well versed on modern society, Luna, but I wouldn't put it past you if you're right. Basically, now it's just considered more acceptable to have the default pronouns of they and them, even if you identify as a straight male or a straight female, just because that's the proper thing to do now when that was never even heard of back in, well, for about as long as history existed, really. Like, if people didn't want to be he or she, it was because they disagreed with the fundamental point of how can one's chromosome affect your pronouns. But it would be more of like a logical dispute as opposed to an agenda. Like, there are people out there that question everything, so it sort of fell under the cracks. Like there are people out there that question if existence is real. And those people are said, "Oh, you're crazy. Of course existence is real. Of course you're real. What are you talking about?" But that movement became popular enough that it led to modernism, and that led to postmodernism, and that led to nihilism, and that led to postmodernism. And so we just live in a culture that is really putting on a lot of emphasis on personal feelings. And those personal feelings equate to reality. When in fact, like, okay, let me make something very clear here. Personal feelings in and of themselves are not inherently wrong. You can't control what you feel. It's a natural reaction in the brain. Everyone has it. Even psychopaths and sociopaths have feelings. It's just that their capacity to sympathize and empathize are extremely limited. If they didn't have any feelings at all, they wouldn't get any joy from all the like the killing that they do, or they wouldn't get excitement and the rush of excitement. But I do think that a lot of times when people rely too much on their feelings, it can lead to them making conclusions that aren't based on reality. And nowadays, people are getting to the mindset of accepting people like that, as opposed to saying, you really should get help. Because there's a little bit of a double standard there. You get someone who's, say, schizophrenic, and actually, I'm going to tell you a true story right now. My best friend, I'm going to take two. I know of a time when my best friend went to go hang out with someone, and that person had like schizophrenic tendencies. And my best friend decided that he was going to wear a red shirt. And the person he was hanging out with said, "What are you doing? Why are you out to get me?" He's like, "I'm not out to get you. What are you talking about?" And the friend replied, "Don't play dumb. You're part of this organization, and this organization always wears red. And so you're out to get me." And no matter how much my best friend said, "No, you're delusional. That's not true," his friend still insisted that because he was wearing a red shirt, he was out to get him. So now he has to always watch what he wears and make sure it's not red. And that's what I'm getting at here is even though the schizophrenic person is clearly not in his right mind and clearly hallucinating and seeing things that aren't real, modern society will say, well, that's what he feels. So therefore, we must accept these people and not try to help them. And it's like, no, these people need to be given medication and help. Wow, Kat, you sure chose a great time to be back. We were just talking about schizophrenia and mental illnesses. So, if you if you want to go ahead and change it to something lighter, that's totally fine. I think I've exhausted my point. I was basically just going in circles, saying just because you feel like you are something doesn't mean that you are. Like if I said I feel like I'm a tree, that doesn't make me a tree. I'm sure you have something to contribute, Kat. You probably just can't think of anything to contribute at the moment. Yeah, Beethoven was deaf, and yet he performed quite a few symphonies. So good on him. So, Kat, did you have anything? Wait, was it lunch that you had to leave for, or was that Peggle that I'm thinking of? That was quite a. Let me see what you actually said. Oh, wow, you sure talked a lot before you got back. Okay, that's too much. You can play Beethoven's Ninth? That's so cool. I used to sort of be able to play Beethoven's Ninth on the piano, but I only ever knew how to play the piano one-handed. So I never got as far as to be able to be ambidextrous. So, schizophrenia, okay. Schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder are two very different things. And Danganronpa would make you think that they're the same thing. So let me dissociative identity disorder is causational. Usually it's the result of abuse. and it means that a certain part of your personality becomes like separated from the rest of you. So you sort of switch to a totally different persona. But not only do you switch personalities, but you're like aware that the other personality exists and you see it as a separate person living inside your head. And they use a lot of terms like, oh, this is my brother, and this person is older than me, and this person is a different gender. And so they classify their personalities as different people. And if you try to like say, oh, you're just hallucinating, they'll say, stop hurting us, as though they're in the plural. And I know this because I know of a YouTuber who has dissociative identity disorder, and she has described this. Schizophrenia, on the other hand, is a broader term that usually means that you have like hallucinations and you might like have an unnatural persona as a result of mental illness. It doesn't necessarily mean you see yourself as multiple people. Yes, I love psychology, JP. In case you haven't noticed on my channel, welcome in. What's been going on with you lately? You and your brother still hard at work on that YouTube channel? Yeah, I used to know a girl with DID and gender fluidity, and we stopped talking because I think she got the wrong impression of me, and she also was just having one of her emotional fits, and I just didn't know how to properly handle it. Apparently, she saw me as a slave whose job was it to play Undertale with her. And I did try to watch her play Undertale, but she didn't get past the options menu before she just blacked out and like just stared with a blank face for several seconds. So I don't know what was going on with her. I wasn't prepared for anything like that. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of glad that I was rid of her because I tried to teach her that, like, no, you just think that there's a different person within you. You are one person. You are not multiple genders. Yeah, it was just a real mess of a friendship. I love Undertale. It's actually among my top 20 video games, probably in my top 10, actually. I've completed the pacifist route and the neutral route, never genocide, because it was just too slow. I did it for a little bit because I wanted to like test out my muscle memory, but I never intended on finishing it. I don't like grinding in video games, so I found that the genocide route was just too boring. A lot of roadblocks. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully the construction workers are fixing it. Oh, yes. Undertale's music is amazing. And I don't usually like music that's non orchestral. So the fact that Toby can pull off such an effective soundtrack it just blows my mind. I think some of my favorite tracks would be I really like Megalovania. Save the World is a good one. Uh, Death by Glamour, that's another one of my favorites. There's not really too many bad songs in Undertale. There are some that I like more than others, obviously. But I would say Death by Glamour, Megalovania, Hopes and Dreams, and Save the World are my four favorites. Yeah, you should try playing it, Luna. And if you like it enough, the first two chapters of its pseudo sequel, Deltarune, are actually free on all platforms. So I have it on the Switch, but you could also get it on PC if you wanted, or whatever console you have. You Oh, you know about the Undertale music? Well, that's good. Well, if you ever want to just send me, I'm plugging in my computer if you guys are wondering what I'm doing. Well, Kat, if you ever want to send me your favorite song so that we can talk about it, that would be great. Oh, yeah. The dummy music was pretty good. Yeah, I did really like that one. Spider Dance? Okay, Peggle kind of hated me for this, but when she was streaming Undertale on her channel, how do I word this? When she was streaming Undertale on her streams, She was mad at me for not telling her to buy spider food from the ruins, because if you use spider food during the fight against Muffet, you can actually skip the entire fight. But there was no way for Peggle to get back to the ruins at this point, so she had to tough it out. But at that time, I didn't know that she was okay with backseating. So that's why I didn't think to tell her at the time. Because I have another streamer friend, her name is Pegasus Angel. I'm sure some of you know her. Actually, Pegasus Angel is how I met Peggle. She has a policy of do not backseat game unless I tell you to. So I was so used to her that I wasn't used to Peggle's rule that she didn't have that restriction. What there is to talk about, I would like to hear about what you plan on doing during your vacation. And I was also hoping, Kat, that you could tell some of the people here what you like about Splatoon 3, just in case some of the people here do not watch my video of Friends' Games of the Year. Like, I just love it if you could just talk about what you like about Splatoon 3 and just say, like, hey, I like the graphics, I like the music, like whatever it is that you like in like an abridged form of what you gave me. So yeah, guys, just in case I didn't make it clear, I'm making a video this year where all of, or at least a lot of my friends are going to be filming or scripting uh their favorite games that came out in 2022. And Kat is one of those people. She is going to be talking about Splatoon 3. So if you really want to hear what Kat sounds like and you don't want to just check out her streams, then you can check out that upcoming video. It should be out probably by the end of December if I get enough files from everyone. You don't like Splatoon's music? Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, especially when I watch streamers. Like I feel like they kind of recycle the music quite a lot. I think for me, like I tried so hard to get into Splatoon, but the controls were what really made it hard for me. I don't think I have the muscle capacity to be able to move myself and to move a gun at the same time while also dodging everyone, while also keeping in mind all of the metrics of competitive Splatoon play. But I do respect it as a franchise. Yeah, yeah, it does fit conceptually, I will agree, but definitely not the kind of stuff I'd go out of my way to listen to. Then again, I'm an orchestra lover, but I can totally see how if there was an orchestra in Splatoon, how it probably wouldn't fit very well. Although Smash tried, its remix of Splatack sounded like semi-orchestrated. Like it had a lot of trumpets and saxophones, so sort of. About my experience, ooh, let's hear it. Yes, I did play single player, so I answered that question. And okay, I haven't played single player in Splatoon 3, but I did in Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, and both of them were too hard for me. And so when I heard that Splatoon 3's single player was basically Octo expansion, and there were also certain other things that rubbed me the wrong way that I don't want to mention here, I decided I wasn't even going to try. Also, I saw Dragon streaming it. Ultimate Dragon 5 to be exact, if you guys want to follow him. And he did this one mission where he had to break a box in one shot, and I said, "Nope. That's all for me." Okay, so what's the second thing you have to ask? I do really like the fact that Splatoon does have single players in the first place though, because people like me who aren't good at competitive online multiplayer can have something to practice against a set computer opponent's rules as opposed to trying to figure out each individual person's strategy. Well, I guess if it wasn't competitive multiplayer, I would want to know how to get myself to play against people of my skill level or to be able to play against bots. But you've already said that bots would defeat the purpose of Splatoon. Welcome back, Peggle. Kat was just giving a little bit of an abridged version of her take on Splatoon 3 that she's going to be doing for my Friends' Game of the Years. So I was wondering, Peggle, did you still want to do Sparks of Hope, or would you like to talk about Scarlet and Violet and why it's a masterpiece of an experience and it should be the Game of the Year 2022? And I'm an idiot for not including it on my list. Also, if any of you want to join the video, as long as you're at least 18, then sure, yeah, you can talk about a game. As long as it came out in 20, okay, two restrictions. It came out in 2022 and you're at least 18. If you can fill both of those requirements, you're good to go. Hey, if you want to bash Scarlet and Violet in your video, you can totally do that. It Peggle, you just gave me an idea. I actually just thought of something. In my worst games of 2022 video, you can actually, if you want to film. Oh, that looks like a bot. I'm gonna hide that until, yep, definitely a bot because it's spamming. Yep. Okay, guys, I apologize if I don't see your message because this person is spamming the same message over and over again. And knowing how this has worked in the past, I just reported him or her. Probably is an it. Like the way that bots are, it probably isn't it. There we go. Much better. Um, I think it was just a robot. So, yeah, I removed that person and I reported it to YouTube. Well, Kat, if you really are under the age of 18, then I've been doing a whole lot of dirty stuff, and so I would be in a pretty bad violation of the code of conduct that I signed for my mission trips. So I apologize in advance. Yeah, as long as you do it before the end of 2022, because I really want to get out all three lists by the end of the year. Oh, Luna, I didn't tell you that. I have chaperoned quite a few conferences. By quite a few, I mean like over 2 dozen. And uh, I had to take a special program in order to like be certified to chaperone. And to make a long story short, and without getting it too R rated, because they talked about some really nasty stuff, basically, I needed to make sure that my interactions with minors were kept very minimal in order to not come across as though I was a child abuser. Because child abusers tend to thrive in those kinds of environments. And so, in order to make sure that no one thought we were, we had to take steps to make sure that they didn't have any evidence against us. And one of many things that they said was no private messaging or being alone with minors. However, it is okay to be with minors in a public setting as long as you're careful about what you say. You're not giving away personal information. You're not like trying to be in a relationship with them. It's just purely very casual and to a certain extent informative. I wasn't exactly I wasn't exactly too thrilled with what they taught me in that program because they made it out like kids were these dirty evil demons. And I was like, didn't Jesus say to let the little children come to me? But over the years, I've started to realize that I do appreciate those guidelines, not because children and teenagers are bad, but because I don't want to give the wrong impression. Yeah, they do talk about some pretty nasty stuff on in those videos, Kat. I have not seen your sister, actually. You haven't even told me well, I've seen one of your sisters. Your other sister, you haven't told me her name yet. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. You can talk about Cult of the Lamb. That'd be great. And don't worry about censoring it because of me being Catholic. You can just say it's a game and it's not meant to be taken seriously. As long as Cult of the Lamb came out in 2022, then you're good. Totally fine by me. But despite all of the restrictions that we had about minors, they also encouraged us to do certain actions in a chaperoning capacity. And some of those actions were make sure that, in my case, it was teenagers. I didn't really work with anyone younger than that very often, if at all. Be supportive of them, like be that person that if they are troubled or if they have questions, that they should feel free to come to us with those questions. We also were told that we are like basically a surrogate parent. Okay, Caitlin, I'm not being literal. I was just exaggerating there. I didn't literally mean that they treated them like demons. We had to go through a program known as Protecting God's Children. And so, um, let's just in case someone watches this stream, I kind of don't want that message to be seen. So, basically, the gist of Protecting God's Children was that it was meant to talk about what actual child pedophiles and molesters do and their tactics and how they go about tricking minors into like doing inappropriate sexual actions. Now, why would they have to show that to us? It was so that we would be able to identify if one of those adults existed at one of the things we were um chaperoning. So like if we saw someone say taking a minor off to the side and like keeping secrets, we'd be able to say, "Wait a minute, this is a dangerous situation." And we'd either be able to call the authorities or intervene or protect the minors. And then we in turn would make sure that if we were truly being innocent, we didn't give off signals that true predators would be giving off. So, like, for example, one thing that they say that child molesters thrive on is secrecy. They love everything to be a secret. They often say to the kids, "Don't tell anyone what I've told you." And so, like a lot of adults, they what is with the light in this room? A lot of adults on conferences, they don't mean any harm if they happen to be alone with a kid. But seeing as that's one of the biggest warning signs, they say just don't be alone in an opportunity with a minor. Uh, it's not like a crime or a sin. Like don't be worried about that at all. It's more so of it's how to avoid giving off red flags. It's kind of like how they say married women should limit how often they hang out with other men besides their husbands because that gives off the impression that she's cheating even if she isn't. She doesn't want people to think that she is. So even though she's not literally doing anything wrong, maybe she's just going out to coffee, there are still precautions that she might want to take to avoid people saying, "Why are you cheating on your husband?" Of course, it goes the other way as well. But women were just the first gender I thought of. I'm sorry if I made you guys uncomfortable, but I did put the warning. So I did say I would talk about sensitive topics. That's good to hear, Peggle. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you sad, Luna. Hold on a sec. Come in. I'm sorry. Sorry? Oh, must have been someone else. Well, it's not a hard, fast rule that married couples should limit the amount of time they spend around their opposite gender friends. It's more so of something that a lot of practicing Catholics try to do for their own sake. But like I have friends of mine who are females and married or in a relationship, and they'll still hang out with me because they trust me. But I know of some Catholic females that might say like, I want to hang out with you in a public setting or with other friends so that people don't get the wrong impression and that my husband doesn't think that I'm doing anything. Yeah. Well, keep in mind, Caitlin, that the reason why I had to take Protecting God's Children wasn't, it was because I was not only chaperoning high schoolers, but that was to be certified to work with any kind of minors. This included vacation Bible school. This included being a youth minister. This included the middle school conferences that I would like sometimes be a supervisor for because it was the deal was that the middle schoolers planned the conferences, but the adults would supervise. And so I'd have to know how to supervise without looking like a predator. I'd have to know how to be a small group leader without looking like a predator and stuff like that. So maybe in your case, maybe you were, I don't know, just learning something in general. Wow, I had to take an extra big drink there. So in case I'm making it out like, oh, minors are terrible and you should never be around them. Yeah. Well, I wasn't the one that made the executive decision. I was one of the supervisors. So, to be more specific, what would happen is the adult that was in charge of the, and I'm being deliberately vague to avoid giving anything away, the adult that was in charge of the organization would say, okay, here's a couple of Bible verses. Based on these Bible verses, what would you like the theme of the conference to be? And then she would give little bullet points of how the conference agenda would be. So they'd say, like, at this point, the first keynote speaker is going to come on. At this point, you guys might want to do icebreakers. So the middle schoolers would say things like, hey, we want this to be the subject, and we want these things to be the games in the general area. So they would end up planning like the legit, not the logistics, the specific things to talk about and like the topics of the modules. Like they would say, we want a module that talks about the dangers of smoking. We want a module that talks about what middle schoolers should know about sex instead of what the schools teach. And so the oh, that's right. You wouldn't know what middle school is. Honestly, I don't really know either because I was homeschooled, but based on my understanding, Kat, why don't you explain? I don't want to I don't want to end up confusing you guys because of me being homeschooled. Generally speaking, middle schoolers are like very early teenagers. So they're like just starting to get into adolescence. Some of them have like just started puberty. Their voices are starting to change. Um, a lot of them are either really outgoing or really shy. There's like no in between that high schoolers and above get. Like, I know that there are shy people out there, but like, usually once you're past middle school, even shy people can at least like be respectful. And like if you ask them a question, they'll answer it. Whereas middle schoolers, you ask them a question and they're shy, they just will not answer because they're just too darn scared. They haven't developed the emotional maturity to say, okay, I'm being stupid right now. I'm in class. Let's answer the question. Yeah, there's a lot of hormone imbalances. There's a lot of them trying to claim that they're so mature when in actuality they get into really stupid stuff. Like a stereotype of middle schoolers is that they're the ones that play Fortnite and they're often the ones that talk about like the trends, even though those trends are like very immature and very silly. High school is, well, for me, I was in high school. I think it was between when I was 14 to 18 or 13. No, not 13. I don't know. I was homeschooled. I don't know. I don't remember what I was like in high school. I just remember that when I joined my high school youth group and they had to make me have a grade for the sake of like positioning me at the conferences and knowing if I could join the conferences, they called me, I don't know. Well, I was born in April. So I think I was 15 when I went to my first high school conference. No. Yes. Yes, I was 15. I was 15 and I think I was about to turn 16. Something like that. That stinks. That's why I really hope that homeschooling becomes a norm going forward because school systems are terrible. They just they put too much emphasis on peer pressure and curriculums instead of really thinking about what it is that the kids need. And as a result, there's a lot of lack of supervision and bullying and just a lot of stuff that makes me wonder if perhaps how do I word this? Makes me wonder if perhaps the reason why we have so many criminals is because they went to school. Social justice, huh? Is it really social justice, though? Oh, a challenge. Okay, bring it on, Kat. Now, before you answer your question, I do want to say that I don't think that just because someone went to school, that means that they're a bad person. But I do think that if perhaps homeschoolers were more common, maybe there would be less crime and less peer pressure and less suicide rates because there wouldn't be that element of bullying and being in with the crowd. I actually went to both a private school and a public school before I was homeschooled. So I do know what it feels like. I just don't know what it feels like to be in middle school or high school because I was always in elementary school, which for Peggle, that would be, I was 10 when I was kicked out of school. So between about the ages of 4 to 10 was when I was in school and then homeschooled from then on. Your something never came back? Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that, Caitlin. I really am. It's it's truly very disturbing from what I've heard about. That's true. That is that is good to hear that there's a distinction. I actually heard a recent story about a freshman in high school, which for Peggle's sake is someone that is roughly 14 or 15. And he was complaining that even though he was a white boy, that people were being racist against him. because they said Black Lives Matter. And he wrote on a whiteboard, All Lives Matter. And they said that was being racist. And he said, Why? And they said, It's because of the color of your skin. You're so privileged. And he said, Why do you say that? And overall, they just kept, like, they kept praising the black people and the Asian people and the Hispanics so much that he's like, what about me? Am I worth less because of the color of my skin? Well, I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it, Kat, so I'm sorry if I haven't given the full example of the story, but let's just say that when I did hear about it, I was like, yeah, they don't talk about the stuff white people go through anymore. It's always the blacks were oppressed and the blacks were the slaves. And yes, they were. We're not trying to deny that. We're just saying it's gotten to a point where you're trying so hard to be inclusive to black people that now you're being exclusive to the white people and making them apologize for being privileged. What if what if they earned that privilege? What the heck? I am so sorry, Matthew. I forgot to say hi to you. Welcome in. Glad you could make it. What do I think Jesus looked like? He looked like a Jewish man. That's what the Bible described him as. They said that he was the type that would look totally totally normal in Jewish society. I don't know what Jews look offhand, but I do know he was not white. He would have had very dark skin, maybe not necessarily black per se, but like very dark skin, very dark black, probably very curly hair. He probably had a lot of body hair, and he probably was, I think they said, according to the Shroud of Turin, he was 5'10", which to this day is considered roughly the average height of an American male. But at that time, it was considered very tall. And they said that the reason he was taller than average was so that he could speak above the crowd, so that they'd be able to hear him properly. Well, I guess that means you hate me, Kat, unless you're saying that I'm not a person. I know my youth group leader used to say that I wasn't a person because one time she blurted out, "Teenagers aren't people." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that makes me feel so good." Actually, I think that was after I got out of high school. But I heard that she had said that at one of the youth group meetings in error. And so that's become a meme now, that teenagers people because of her. Yeah, Luna, didn't you say you were 6'1"? Well, he was a Middle Eastern man because he was in, let's see, where was he? I believe the place where Jesus lived was in the area of Mesopotamia. Uh, I forget. You said you were 6'1" on the Discord, so you must have been mismeasured. Yes, thank you, Matthew. What did you miss, Peggle? Luna revealed. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought, sort of. Luna is actually 6 feet, not 6'1", and we were talking about what Jesus would have looked like. And I said that Jesus would have looked like an average Jewish man. So whatever Nazarenes looked like, that's what Jesus looked like. That he probably what would Jesus do? Yeah, I don't really like that either. One of One time I was chaperoning a confirmation retreat, and the leader of the retreat said, "The next time you hear what would Jesus do, ask yourself, how would you know?" Because there are certain things where it's not clear what Jesus taught on it. Yeah, I'm not too thrilled with that system, Cat. Not too thrilled with that at all. I wish there could be more like oral examinations, like what my mom did, where she'd talk to us and say, "Do you understand what you're learning?" And if we said no, then she'd walk us through it. Yes, he was probably very tanned. He probably had quite the beard because they said he took on the vow of a Nazarene. So he probably never shaved. And if he did, he probably only like trimmed the ends of it so it wouldn't get tangled. But they did, and it wasn't in these exact words, but there was a verse in one of the gospels where it said like he wouldn't be able to crack or read, which is Bible speak for if you just looked at him and didn't know that he was actually Jesus, you would have thought of him as just another Jewish man. And that's actually one of the reasons why he was crucified, is because he didn't stand out physically. It was what he said that made people drawn to him and what he did. I didn't say I think that everyone should be homeschooled, Kat. I think that it should become more of a norm. Either that or like make a drastic change to the public school system so that kids aren't bullied, they aren't pressured. A simple letter doesn't dictate how smart they are. They're able to think for themselves, make educated choices, and just be be a proper thinking individual. Hello, Jack. I'm not sure if I know who you are. So, my name is Paul. I'm the Catholic gaming nerd, as you all know. Duh, silly me. I'm probably just nervous. And I like to review video games. I like to talk about psychology. And every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I try to stream. Sometimes I forget because I'm not a natural streamer like Kat and Peggle are here, but I try. I might not be doing it too much longer at the rate I'm going tonight, but we will see. So, Thomas, no, I have not, because that is considered an apocryphal book. Societal expectations. Oh, that makes me cringe so much. The idea of having to think about what society wants, not my kind of thing. Well, you and I can be forgetful together then, Kat. Yes, I am a nerd very much, Orville. Thank you very much for reaffirming that. Well, guys, I am almost out of water, so I will probably call it here. I'm sorry I had to leave as soon as Jack got here and as soon as JP got back and Orville got back, but I only have so much stamina for these things. I don't know how you guys do it. You guys must be like have iron throats or something. I don't know what you do. But before I go, I just want to thank everyone who came here or still is here. So let's hope I remember all of you. Let me thank Caitlin, Luna, Kat, Matthew, Orville, Peggle, Louie, Jack. Did I miss anyone? If I missed anyone, I'm sorry. I don't usually get too many people in my streams, so I don't think I missed anybody. I think the most I've ever gotten was 10 people, which by my standards, that's a lot. I did say cat. I did say cat, or at least I meant to. Kat and Caitlin are two totally different people, Luna. Caitlin goes by Kateri Games. She actually does have a YouTube channel now. And Kat no longer has a YouTube channel, but she streams on Twitch and she has a Discord. Okay, that's good. All right, guys. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll try to stream again this coming Monday, but we will see how I feel because I don't know. This is definitely an adjustment. I hope you will get a chance to stream Luna. That would be really cool to know what you sound like. Well, that's why I didn't promote your YouTube channel, Kat. All right, then. Well, thank you very much for joining, everyone. Thank you for all of your deep questions. Hopefully, you can. Well, I know Pagel doesn't do Thanksgiving, so hopefully, you can enjoy if there's anything cool coming up for the rest of the year and whatever Australians have instead of Christmas. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Good night, and in Peggle's case, good day.